welcome back to the channel, and today a tag. So I've actually been tagged in the Bookish A to Z hot or not tag. Now this, I was actually tagged twice, which is never happened to me, I don't think. I was tagged by Fred from Read by Fred. Now if you like non-fiction, his channel is right up there for me with Steve Donahue. Very, very interesting, lots of nature, lots of science. So if you like to get your mind working, head over to Fred's channel. And then Cliff. Now Cliff, different side of Booktube completely. Cliff's Dark Gems, his channel is all about horror, hidden gems of horror, books you might not know about. There's a lot of Clive Barker, there's a lot of Stephen King over there. So if horror is your thing, go over to Cliff's channel. Completely different to Fred, both great Booktube channels. So if you like to mix up like I do, variety's the spice of life, head over to those two channels. Now this is a long tag, so I apologise. I'm going to try and whip through these nice and fast. It's A to Z, so you've obviously got 26 prompts here. Number one is A for audiobooks. Now, I love audiobooks. When I was a lad, audiobooks came on tape, and you got them from like the library. They tended to be like classics or like novelizations of movies and what have you. I still like audiobooks, but I have a terrible attention span, so I only own a few audiobooks, and I tend to read physically just because it engages me more. So I'm going to put not, but not because they're bad, okay? It's just not very conducive to me. Bildungsroman. So kind of coming of age or realizing who you are, I suppose. Yeah, so this is a really big thing in fantasy, so I'm going to say hot. The kind of coming of age or developing your personality or going through a full kind of character arc is a massive thing in the books I read, so obviously I'm going to go hot with that one. Next up, C is children's books. Probably not for me. I do read a few children's books. I have children. I read to my children. Not so much anymore. They're half of them bigger than me. But yeah, children's books, it isn't really my bag necessarily. So I'm going to say not, but not because they're bad. Digital. I only have a few digital books as well, and that's just because of my eyes. I tend to get bad headaches, eye strain, migraines brought on by using Kindles and phones to read. So I occasionally go to an ebook if I don't have any other choice, but if I can read from paper, especially older books, we can get a slightly opaque or a slightly like a yellowing to the pages, much nicer on my eyes. So I tend to stick with physical. E is for experimental. I think it depends what it is. I think if it's experimental, say because it's science fiction, or because it is a non-fiction science book and it's looking at a new area you're not used to, then I would say it's hot. But overall, I'm not completely sure on E. F is fantasy, so half of everything I read is fantasy, so it's hot. G is graphic novel. I've not really shown my graphic novels, but I have quite a large collection of graphic novels. In the 80s and early 90s, I read a lot of comic books. A lot of those got turned into graphic novels in the late 90s or early 2000s, so I have a lot of graphic novels, so I'm going to say hot. H is for horror. I tend to do most of my horror reading either, around October, or I might sprinkle a few in here when it's part of a series. So I'm definitely going to say hot, but for me it's very much horror is I'm in the mood for it, so we're going to go with hot. I is for inspirational. I like inspiration in books. I find Tolkien really, really inspirational. I find a lot of stuff from ancient Greece and what have you very inspirational as well. I read a book earlier in the year in the summer that was a biography, and that was quite inspirational, but I don't really read books that are from the inspirational category, so I'm going to go not, just because I don't really read the genre, but I haven't, I don't have no idea how good it is. Next one is J for journalism. This is really interesting to me, but I just don't read from it, so I'm going to go not, just based on my own ignorance. Kitsch is for K. Yeah, I mean, who doesn't like kitsch, I suppose. It means different things to different people. For me, it's probably like Terry Pratchett, Discworld, or like Star Wars novelizations or something. But yeah, of course, kitsch is hot. L for library. I used to use the library a lot as a kid because there was no internet, so you used the library. But I had a lot of overdue books, and I couldn't really go back to the library. I was pretty much banned from my local library as a child, so I'm going to go with not, just under that. M for mystery is hot. At the moment, that mostly means for me like Sherlock Holmes or Poirot, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to get back to Dashiell Hammett or Raymond Chandler or introduce new authors like Michael Connolly to my reading, because I absolutely am. All of those authors, all those characters, expect to see them back on the channel, because they will be back on the channel. N is for non-fiction. I'm gonna go with hot. I mean, it depends what kind of non-fiction you're reading, but like, it's nice to sprinkle in a few non-fiction reads here and there. It's nice, kind of a palate cleanser with all the genre fiction and stuff. So omnibus, I'm gonna go hot again. I've got more into omnibus recently because I've kind of had to go and find certain short stories, whether they be like science fiction or Stephen King or something like that. So yeah, I've got more into omnibus as I've gone along. You know, I really enjoyed like the Conan omnibus. That's fantastic. P for poetry. I don't know. I haven't read enough poetry. I really enjoyed Edgar Allan Poe when I was a teenager, because you know I was a usual, moody teenager, and you know Edgar Allan Poe was fantastic for that. But having only read one or two poems by other kind of authors, it's hard for me to say. I have no idea. Q is for quests. Quests are in basically every fantasy book, so yeah, they're hot. R is for romance. Romance is hot right now, especially on Booktube, so I'm going to say hot. Just generally, it's romance. S for science fiction, definitely hot. I'm finding that is the genre I'm injecting most into coming TBRs, like next quarter or next year or the year after. I'm like putting more and more sci-fi on. As I get round to reading a lot of the fantasy that I'm knocking off my bucket list, I'm finding more and more sci-fi is rising to the surface now. T is for translation. At the moment, for me, that is very hot. Russian translation has been really good for me. I really love War and Peace, and I really loved the Brothers Karamazov. I've got some French translation stuff coming up in the next few months, and yeah, I mean, why didn't I get to it sooner, I suppose. Übermensch. So, excuse my German, I don't speak German, I've never had a German lesson in my life. So I think that's like Supermen or something. I read Gladiator back in the summer, and that is basically the first Superman story, and that was good, so I'm going to say hot. V is for Victorian. I love Victorian style of prose. I love the Victorian way of speaking, the dialogue between the characters. So I'm definitely going to say hot on that one. Western is hot. Coming off my first ever June in the Range, I read 2 Westerns, I enjoyed them both, so Western is hot. X is for X-rated, is not. I do not like X-rated stuff in my books. I'm not a big one on graphic violence. I'm not a big one on kind of explicit content. It doesn't interest me really, so I'm going to say not. Y for young adult. I don't really read enough of it. If The Hobbit counts, then it's hot. Otherwise, it's not. Z for zeitgeist. I don't follow the zeitgeist. I am not really plugged in. I don't know enough social media. I don't really know what's going on in the world. I don't know what is. A lot of what I get shown on Goodreads is just alien to me. I don't even know what I'm looking at. So I'm completely unplugged from the zeitgeist. So I'm going to say not for zeitgeist. Right. Who am I going to tag? So this will come as no surprise. I'm going to tag Josh from Red Fury Books. Great channel, especially if you like multiple genres. Mike at Michael K. Vaughan, and Duncan from Back Away from the Donkey. So you're all tagged. Don't feel like you have to do the tag, but obviously 3 of the names that always spring to mind.